welcome to Totally Tell Me, an entertainment review podcast where we talk about movies, music, food, and fun. My name is Dominic Mercurio, and I am here with Laura Weinbach.
Hello.
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I wish I could see what the people were doing, but I'm not logged in.
Well, I
That's what
can't
I'm
very
doing,
well tell
actually.
you the password on
No, don't tell me
stream,
password
so-
now. But people, I'm looking down right now because I'm trying to log in. So that's just a heads up.
Yeah. Well, while you do that, I'll just kind of intro the show ever so briefly. Totally Tell Me is a live stream / podcast. We go live every 2 weeks on Twitch and YouTube. So, and you might be watching us there right now. So every 2 Sundays at 7 p.m. we go live. So welcome to everyone who is watching us live. And if you're just listening later on podcast services, just so you know, it's much better live. You get the visuals, you get the interaction. So just something to consider.
It is. I agree. I considered it.
You considered tuning into our show once or twice every.
I
Blue
have
Moon?
considered it. Yeah. It was worth considering.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
Our intro music today was, I actually remember to change it, so it was Give Me a Sign. Also still by our band, but, different song this time. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let's see, we already got some people in the chat. That's cool. What's up, Bryce? How's it going? What's up, Nicole?
What's up, Bryce? Jamie?
Yeah.
Got some Ultra 1000. Got some Coopers up in here.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Very good.
That's what I like to see.
And I'm seeing some talk about whether you did or did not do your homework, which is a good reminder that you absolutely do not need to do any homework for this show. We always start every episode with just chatting about whatever we so feel like, including you guys in that. And then the second half of the episode, we'll get to our film review. And even the film review, we always start in a very non-spoiler way. We just kind of give our top-level thoughts on what we thought. And then we save for the very end, spoiler talk, where we get into story stuff. Today's film is Priscilla, which is written and directed by Sofia Coppola. Came out in 2023. It's a biographical film that centers on Priscilla Presley, wife of Elvis Presley. And we'll, of course, be getting into that in much more depth in a little bit here. But first, we're just going to chit-chat. We're going to talk. And we're going to plug some shit, including what I'm going to plug. First and foremost, if you don't mind here.
Plug away, Dominic. Plug away.
Something I just absolutely must mention is that I have a short film that just came out on, when did it come out? Came out on February 26th via filmshortage.com. It premiered there, but it's also out on YouTube and Vimeo. So any of those places you can watch my short film. Again, it's filmshortage.com or YouTube or Vimeo. The film's called He Won't Belong. It's a short drama about two people who meet in the midst of a coastal storm in Sea Ranch, California. And while they wait for the storm to pass, they sort of uncover each other's past. It's, it's good, I think. I think it's good. I think it's worth your time.
It's worth considering.
It's worth considering. And Laura, I meant to prep you on this, but I didn't prep you on this. But I do have the trailer that I was just going to play ever so quickly. It's about 30 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, plug away. Plug that shit.
So I'm going to play the trailer for people who are watching live. Laura, I think you probably won't hear or see it, but you could just imagine that the trailer is playing for 30 seconds.
Honestly, I don't want to see it.
You don't want to see it. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. It's awesome. I wish I could see it, but I'll just be monitoring what's happening on the old read stream.
Absolutely.
I got it.
All right. So for 30 seconds, here we go.
So what were you doing out there?
Just trying to ride
To where?
north. Just thought it'd be nice to get away for a little while.
By yourself?
Yeah, why not?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm trying.
It won't be long. It won't be long. It won't be long.
So there you have it. There you have
Oh,
it.
I was on camera.
Oh yeah, you were on camera. It's fine. Whatever. Look, I mean, cheers.
Cheers.
Right. Indeed.
All right. I actually am having a glass of wine, people. I didn't want to necessarily reveal that on camera, but you know what?
What's
We're
so
here, we're
funny,
queer.
Laura, is we are here, we're queer. What's so funny is I also am having a glass of red wine, which is actually not a move I usually
Well,
make.
you did that, and it inspired me.
Got it.
So,
Jamie, you asked if it was Muir Woods. No, it's Sea Ranch, California. And you also wondered who did the song. That's Vashti Bunyan, who I actually was... The title is inspired by that particular song, and we were able to get the rights to it, which was like a real serendipitous thing. I was really hoping we could, and we did. It's a beautiful song, and you should definitely check out all of her music. It's great. She's awesome. But yeah, anyways, that's He Won't Belong. I really hope that you all can go check that out, and I hope you like it. But moving right along here.
it's very good.
Thanks.
Got some fun stuff in it. Some very fun moments. Very
Yeah.
fun moments in it.
Yeah. Laura made a pasta.
I worked on it.
Right. Yeah, we kind of briefly mentioned last week too when we were talking about this, but
Right. We
but
briefed them.
We briefed, yeah. But to just very briefly brief again, Laura was the COVID compliance officer / pasta maker, so something to consider as well.
Clearly, my talent's going to good use there. Definitely.
By the way, Josh says, loving Laura's placement, very symmetrical and good lighting. So look at that.
Okay. Thank you. Symmetrical, eh?
Yeah.
But it's not though. Look there's something on that side that's not the same as what's on that side. But that's okay.
I think it's more like the chest behind you is actually is fairly centered.
Oh, you mean
know?
the armoire?
The wow. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's like a perfect 3 stripes. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you're right in the middle stripe there. Now, I was going to move on, but I'm just going to answer this one last question that I saw pop up in chat. Cooling Prongs asked, Dom, did you hear the song lyrics as He Won't Belong initially? So glad you asked, because I did. She says it won't be long in the song, but at the time I had already written the script, and I was kind of like trying to find I had no idea what the title was going to be for the short, and I just happened to be listening to that song, and it kind of, I was hearing it I think like intentionally wrong as He Won't Belong, and there was something about that, like he won't be long as in like he won't be a long time or something, / he won't belong as in he doesn't have like a place where he belongs. So it kind of was like, it kind of just came together really quickly after that as like oh yeah, that's the title, and also I love this song and we have to get it.
What you call it? Double entendre over there.
They do call it that. But enough about that. Laura.
Yeah.
I do want to know what's going on with you, but I will say I have some fun things to get to as well.
Let's jump into the fun.
Okay.
I love a good fun news.
I'm an eager beaver to talk about this with you, in fact.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Tell all, Beaver. Tell all. No,
Okay.
totally tell me, Beaver.
I totally will tell you. So I went to a little film festival here in San Francisco called Hump Film Festival. Are you familiar with Hump Film Festival?
No, but does it involve porn?
It absolutely, it
Okay.
more or less involves porn. Yeah.
Is it at the porn building?
No.
You know, like in the Mission? Oh, okay.
No, it's at the Victoria Theater. I don't know if they always do it there or not. I mean, it's been going on for many, many years. This is the first time I've
Where's
ever
the Victoria Theater?
16th and Mission. Right in the Mission.
Oh.
It's like you know,
Oh.
it's like right there.
Okay. Yeah. It's on 16th.
It's yeah, it's on 16th.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you went to the Hump Fest.
I went to Hump
And?
Fest. I went to Dan Savage's Hump Fest, as you can see here.
Did you get spritzed or sprinkled in any way?
I didn't. It was
Oh my
just
God, you
filmed.
could've.
It was a 2D experience, you know.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know. Who's to say? Maybe someone around me was doing something a little more
Sprit-
3D, if you know what I mean. You know, I personally wasn't. I was just simply observing.
Observing.
But I feel
Among,
like
but not of.
right. I feel like you could choose to do other things. I don't know. It was a dark room. Is all I'm gonna say. But
And
anyways,
so, what was the most fun aspect of this Hump Fest USA
I just have to say
2024?
they pulled no punches with this. This was like, so it's just as like a brief setup. Essentially, it's a film festival where you have to make a short film that is very specifically for Hump. And the way that they ensure that is like there's kind of these very random objects that they ask you to include one of in it. So it's sort of like this indication. Like it was, this year was like ping pong balls, water cooler, and something else I'm forgetting right now. But
And that's sort of like the cue that you made it for the festival.
exactly. And the whole thing is like they don't, they only ever show it in these specific spots, and then they don't release it online. So it sort of like encourages people to feel a little less like self-conscious or whatever, because it's never going to be seen online, and they don't even say like who made these films. It's like quite anonymous in that kind of way, unless you want them to know. Like you can put it in the credits who made it, but you can also just be completely anonymous, which encourages people to put shit, like submit things in here that are
Very
like
hardcore.
Amongst the wildest
Let's hear it.
pornographic things I've ever seen in my life. And
So what was the most hardcore thing?
okay, so I mean, look, I have the list, and I even like starred the ones that I thought were really good and worth talking
Oh my
about.
God. Mm-hmm.
Let's start with Human Chandelier. So it's called Human Chandelier.
Wait, hold on. Let me just try to guess what that means.
Yeah, go
Is it
ahead.
like a person who is like somehow like strapped and suspended from a ceiling and
Uh-huh.
has penises dangling from their body of different kinds, and they're like, actually like dildos or something like that?
I mean, you were
Like
close.
the dildos are like the sort of this kind of like crystal droplet things that a chandelier would have.
You're
And
close.
then like the actual penis of the person, because I'm envisioning it's like a male gimp type figure.
Mm-hmm.
Their actual penis is like the chain that's being suspended from the ceiling.
all from his penis.
All from the penis.
Wow.
Yeah, the penis is the main chain.
Damn, that would be, I think, quite rough.
I'm just, as they say, spitballing here.
Right. Well, yes and no is what I'll say. It definitely involves a guy who was,
Am I more creative than what they've done?
I guess in certain ways, yes. But yeah, I mean, yeah, because there were no dildos involved, for one. It was a guy who was like
Were they real penises?
What? Oh, I mean, he had a real penis that were
No, I mean, like, could
absolutely-
there have been like real penises sort of maybe sewn on to?
Oh my god.
I'm just going all out here. I'm trying to
So-
be,
So a series of
Hump
murders.
Fest USA.
A series of murders
ahead.
has occurred, and they've taken the penises of people, is what you're saying. In this theory.
Not necessarily murders, but maybe just castrations.
Okay.
Like
I'm-
maybe they collected them from countries where that's legal, and like they
Right.
know, they sell them on the black market for a hefty
Look,
sum. But maybe
I'm-
some Hump Fest USA filmmakers collect such tale, literal tale. I guess, well, figurative tale, but it is literal in the sense that it's like a tale. It's not a tall tale; it's a
long tail.
penis tale.
Right. A long, stretched out tail.
Such tale that they would use as film prop for said film. Or am I going too far here?
Well, no. I mean, nothing's too far for Humpfest, I think. But in fact, there were no castrated penises involved. It was a
Damn
guy
it.
who was suspended in a sort of, wild apparatus. And you watch him get suspended. It was just like a short film that just like
Wow.
is just this act. He gets suspended, and then this guy is like dripping candle wax all over him, completely drenches and covers him in candle wax.
Wait, he's being dripped candle wax on while he's
Yes.
already suspended.
Off of
So the
hot
guy
candles.
is somehow.
Yeah.
Some guy is like on the ceiling.
Well, it's not. He's not quite on the ceiling. He's just, sort of like in a mid-level. Like if he was here in my room, he would just be sort of like right here.
Okay.
He is
Okay. So
suspended,
basically,
but not
the person
all.
putting candle wax on him he's basically like nipple height
Exactly, nipple height, indeed. Yeah.
for the guy pouring the wax on him.
Right.
Got
He
it.
pours the wax all over, and then at the end, I mean, you're watching him like writhe, and he's loving it. He's getting hard, he's like he's loving this wax thing. And then to
Oh
cap it
my
all
God.
off, which is actually, I will say, like kind of beautiful in a way. They like put all these little candles all over his body, and so then he's like he's just like suspended there, like just sort of slowly moving around with like all of these candles all over his body.
Just
Thoughts?
all these candles.
Just all these candles.
No, I mean, I love the creativity. I feel they could have done more with it.
Mm-hmm.
With that a name like Human Chandelier, I think they could have really flown with it,
Mm-hmm.
taken it possibly in the direction of more kind of what I had been envisioning. But you know what? A for effort.
Okay, I'm just gonna move through another
No,
one
no,
here.
it's good. I would like to observe such a thing.
Yeah.
If
Oh, yeah.
it was, I mean, I would not turn away if that was happening in front of me. Let's put it that way.
Right. By the way, I'm remembering the last thing. It's a saran wrap was the third thing. So it was ping pong balls, water coolers, or saran wrap are the three things that you needed to include. And the next one I'm going to talk about
Oh.
includes all three.
Wait, real quick though, how did
Yeah.
Human Chandelier include a ping pong ball or water cooler or surround wrap?
That's a good question. It might not have included any of them. So I think maybe they
Oh.
bend the rules a little bit because I'm not
Okay.
remembering that unless there was something in the beginning that I'm forgetting.
Maybe it was just hiding in his butt.
Could be, yeah. They were like,
ping
and there's a
pong
ping
ball.
pong ball in there, yeah.
Like in the credits, it just says special thanks to the ping pong ball hiding between
Right. And
name guys.
Speaking of ping pong balls in butts, though, so this next one was called extra credit, which is what it's called when you include one of those three things. They call it extra credit. So this one includes all three. It was you watch this guy and he puts ping pong balls up his asshole, and then he like flips over and there's someone else assisting him. He flips over and the person assisting him has this huge like water cooler, like those big multi-gallon jugs of water that you would drink at the office or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Like those big ones.
Yeah, like a sparklets thing.
I don't know what a sparklet thing, but like at a general office building with
Yeah, like where you like push the button and the water comes out.
Exactly.
Yeah, those things.
So he gets that, and then he sticks the end of it into the guy's ass. It's half filled with water, I should mention.
Wait, so the guy who already just put a bunch of ping pong balls up his crack
Yes.
is now getting a giant sparklets water bottle put up there too with water?
Absolutely, yes. And then
Did they call this Human Super Soaker?
No, they should have. Actually, there's another one that is more similar to Human Super Soaker, which I'll get to in a second.
Wait, did the guy happen to go by the name Gritchard Rear? If you know what I'm saying?
Well,
Maybe-
Richard Gere, is that what you're referring to?
That's the
But-
reference, but I'm just
right.
thinking like the porn guy's name is Gritchard Rear.
Oh, that's a real porn. That's a real porn star.
No, I'm just imagining that could be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, he may as well have been.
Could be a guy.
Um,
No, just because like ping pong balls up the butt it's not too much of a far stretch from the gerbil situation.
right.
Do you know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
I know exactly. I think we've talked about that on the podcast before.
Oh, everybody's talked about Richard Gere's gerbils on a podcast before, I think.
Okay, so they
But,
put
yeah,
they put
I
this
think
water
he's trying
cooler.
to have-
The ping pongs are in his ass. The person assisting gets saran wrap, and then saran wraps like his legs so that the water cooler is like firmly in place, if that makes sense. So his legs are sort of like caressing the back end of the water cooler, so that essentially the water cooler cannot exit his asshole. Are we all following?
Wait,
here?
like his legs are like this or something like that? Like I'm imagining that his butt is kind of here and he's sort of on his stomach and his legs are kind of doing this? Or
yeah.
I don't understand.
So
Like,
he's
and then
like,
the water bottle's kind of like right here going in, and his
Yeah.
legs are doing this.
imagine that like he's kind of backwards on his back, legs up.
Backwards, as in on his stomach.
Oh wait, actually, you could be right. No, he was on his stomach. He was on his stomach, and then his like knees are bent in such a way to where his feet are then, adhering
touching.
themselves, to the back end of the water cooler. You get what you picking up what I'm throwing down here?
How his feet are adhering to the water cooler. I mean, are his feet like
With
basically
saran
bending
wrap.
all the way back?
Well, no, like, it's just sort of like his knees are bent. Look, point being, he uses saran wrap to like wrap to adhere the water cooler, and then the person, because he suspends the person, and then the person tips the guy with ping pong balls in his asshole, tips him so that the water cooler is now above him. So like,
Wait a minute. The guy with ping pong balls in his butt is the same guy with the water cooler in his butt.
yes, yeah, and the person assisting him like flips the person with the water cooler in his ass,
Yeah.
so that the water cooler is now like fully up.
It's going upside down into his butt.
Exactly, as if
Like
it was
all the
pouring
water's
in.
going in there.
Yeah, as if it was pouring in. And then we witness as the audience the ping pong balls float to the surface out of his asshole. Because, gravity and such and so forth, which I thought was a pretty nifty little trick.
Well, gravity or more just like, the science of water and
Exactly. I mean, yeah.
stuff that's not dense enough to be withheld by gravity, I guess.
Right, but I guess what's somewhat shocking is that like the pressure of the asshole didn't hold the ping pong balls in place. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I would not expect them to be honest.
You would expect them to float?
Most likely. Like it basically like he just farted them out essentially is
Right.
what happened. Right?
I guess so.
Or
Yeah.
pooed them out essentially. Did they have poo on them?
I saw no poo, but I mean there was sort of a film, I would say, in the water. So unclear what the film was. It could have been a poopy film.
Or maybe it could have been just like some kind of lubrication that they might have put on those ping pong balls.
Right, actually, yeah. It was probably lube, actually. That makes more sense. Noah Collard,
Wait,
by the way, commented, sounds dangerous, TBH. And I would agree. This was borderline dangerous for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, they're basically like mega douching this guy's butt crack
Yeah, yeah.
with ping pong ball.
Yeah.
But the question is, how is this a movie? I mean, is it just like crazy stunts by crazy porn people, or was it like two guys walk into a bar and they say, I've got this amazing little game we could play at my house if you like Twister, board games, ping pong, things like that, and then they like go like, is there a story that they're actually like endeavoring to tell with these stunts that they're pulling off here, or is it more just going straight to the punch here?
Right. Well, some have stories. The ones that I've mentioned so far had zero story whatsoever. Some
It
had
was just like fade in, guy suspended with ping pongs in his butt. Okay.
Exactly. It was straight to the point. But yeah, some like
Was it like a home video style, or was it kind of high tech?
actually I would say the chandelier one was fairly high tech, like it was actually quite well shot. The this water cooler one though was like
I'm envisioning very just lo-fi.
it was very lo-fi. It was like maybe
Like
iPhone.
I'm picturing, I'm picturing just like less than an iPhone, like an Android maybe.
It could have been an Android.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? With like poor lighting and it like almost like a fluorescent light effect type of thing.
Right.
One of those kind of things. Is that kind of the feel?
Yeah, it was not like they were putting any production value into the visual or audio end. All the production value was going into this guy's asshole, I would say.
Does Humpfest just accept any old movie, or do they have a vetting process, or do they?
Oh, there's a
sort of-
vetting. There's a
Not
vetting.
vetting, but like, are they selective in their choices that they make?
Well, look, I mean, they must be because, like, I, first of all, they actually have a pretty sweet deal. Like, as someone who has submitted a film to film festivals before, you pay to submit. Here, it's free to submit, and they pay you if it makes it in.
Wow.
Which is, like,
So
actually a much better deal than every film festival I've ever heard of. Like, even Sundance doesn't, like, pay you to...
Well, that's because they're probably like not everybody like it. I think that there's a lot at stake here for people to submit, in a way.
I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, totally. But I'm just
I mean,
saying,
it's like not just anybody is going to be down to do this sort of thing.
very true, very true.
Then again, are you down now that you know the rules and the guidelines?
I mean,
Would you
I
do
did
such a
think to
thing?
myself, I was like, look, this is interesting, you know? Like, I'd have to think of a good idea, though, you know, and I'd have to have a participant.
Like, what constitutes a porno, really? You know what I mean?
um,
Like, does it have to be a porno movie?
no. Like, some just were. The thing is, the central theme of all of these was like it was very focused on sex in some kind of way, but it didn't necessarily mean that it had explicit sex in it.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, could maybe, maybe I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
Could what?
Could he won't be long be a potential
Oh.
contender?
I mean,
Or you
there
know what I
is a
mean?
moment in He Won't Belong that could potentially be a contender.
It's like
However,
cool, like what's it called? What was that movie called again? Cool. I keep forgetting the names now. The Yorgos Lanthimos movie. Could Poor
oh, Poor
Things be in
Things.
it? Yeah,
Uh,
like that could, you know what I mean? Like what is the definitive distinction between already like movie with sex in it or just movie with sex in it and porn? You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, they do have a 5 minute limit. It's like they want short and quick.
Well, yeah, short and quick, but I mean, okay, but like in terms of in the short film world, what is the hard line
Um,
distinction between?
well, I think something that is vaguely about sex would potentially make it into here. You know.
So if Poor Things was a short film, that could be in it.
Yeah, if it was under 5 minutes, but I don't think, you know, like Poor Things at that point would be so different if it was under 5 minutes. Like, you know,
Okay, but that and so like, but do you think that he like now? I'm not trying to give anything away about He Won't Be Long. Could that be in it?
well, for one, He Won't Belong is 20 minutes, so
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah.
so I
No,
would have to
fine.
like just essentially if I just cut out that one particular scene and I submitted it, I suppose it could have a chance, you know, it could have a chance. But honestly, I would say what happens in He Won't Belong is less hardcore than every single thing that I saw in this.
So does it seem like it does have to be of a certain core hardness?
I think they want some absolute shocks, you know?
They want it's like it's got to be of a shock nature.
There's a lot of shocks to be had
So
here.
they should call it Hump Shock Fest,
I
Shock
suppose.
Hump Fest, or something like that.
Right. Um,
Um,
should I like brief one or two more, or are you kind of
yeah, sure.
okay? One that was very quick that really made me concerned for the participant was called Mountain Fresh Taste. And the description here reads that I'm reading off of says, "Daddy."
Wait, can I take a guess?
Go ahead. Yes. Mountain Fresh
Two
Taste.
guys. I'm
It
okay.
doesn't-
Here's
yes.
what I'm guessing. I'm envisioning two cowboys.
Okay.
They're making their way up to a snow-covered mountaintop. They
Mhm.
might be smoking a couple of Marlboros, and one of them at the top of the mountain, when they finally reach the summit,
Mhm.
one of them pulls out. They bust out a six-pack of Mountain Dew.
Mhm.
Tells the other one, "I have been waiting a long time for you to propose this thing to you,
Mhm.
and I'm expecting just a hard yes from you."
Mhm.
And the guy goes, "Well, I thought you'd never ask." And then, but they don't actually know for sure what each other's talking about. The
Mhm.
guy with the six-pack of Mountain Dew says that he wants to basically connect a retractable hose to one of the six packs of Mountain Dew. Well, he's going to basically connect every can of the Mountain Dew. It should
Uh-huh.
actually be called Mountain Dew Centipede, Human Centipede.
Right. I was gonna say this is giving Human Centipede for sure.
They're going to connect every can of Mountain Dew to each other,
Mhm.
and then they're going to connect that to a retractable hose. And the retractable hose is going to be having to be encased in a large Trojan condom. And then they're going to have to insert that into the guy's mouth, the other guy's mouth.
Mhm.
And then that's going to have to be somehow with a fishing hook. A fishing hook is going to be shoved up the guy's rectum, and then it's going to be used to hook on to the condom that's being going through his mouth, and they're going to pull that out of his butthole.
Laura.
And then they're
wow.
they're going to basically have to hose a large stream of Mountain Dew through the guy's entire torso. And that's kind of what that's about. It's about two cowboys going through this sort of Mountain Dew human centipede erection.
I really think that if me and you put our heads together, we could really make something special for Humpfest next year. I feel like, you got these ideas, I got the means to create them. So I mean, Humpfest 2025.
I'm a visual person.
Right.
So if you're telling me that is not what this is about.
It's not what this is about.
This fucking bullshit.
But
All right.
I think Humpfest 2025 needs that. So it's just something to consider. We'll talk offline.
Hey, I'm honestly down
As am I. I mean, we need to participate.
to come up with something.
Yeah. I think we could
Can
be the
I just be
creative
the art?
force.
Can I be the art director?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I'm in.
We'd have to find like a porn star who'd be willing to do some insane shit though,
I'm down.
Yeah.
Wait, how much do they pay?
I know, it's something to consider. Well, I'll say this, the theater was fucking packed. Like totally packed. And not only that,
I wouldn't doubt that.
but not only that, like there was another screening right after ours of the same set of films. So like they're taking this same set of like 20-ish films on tour. It starts in Seattle, goes to San Francisco, maybe, I assume, probably just other major cities like maybe LA, Chicago, New York, that kind of stuff. But they tour these and it's in San Francisco for like a week, playing 2 times a night. So like that's like 14 screenings just in San Francisco, all sold out. And the filmmakers are getting a cut of the ticket sales. So like, I think you might be getting a hefty little sum.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. Wait, so that is something to consider. Wait, but is that the only thing they're making, or do they get like a upfront fee?
No, there's no upfront fee. You have to get selected. Like you have to be one of the ones that's selected.
No, I know. Like if you're selective, do they pay you some kind of like guarantee, and then also you get a cut of ticket sales?
Look, I only know what's in this pamphlet, and the pamphlet says that you get the people get cash from ticket sales. But I don't know. Maybe you also get a fee up front, but I honestly don't know. We just have to submit and find out,
Well, let's make it happen, but let's hear the rest of this Mountain Dew story or whatever they're calling it.
Right. So Mountain Fresh taste. Honestly, it was just really quick. It was just this guy walks up to this twink who is just, ass up, ready to receive, and he walks up with the aluminum can beer, like a big thick one of beer, and he goes, "Hey, you want a cold one?" And then the twink goes, "Yeah." And then the daddy comes over with this beer and shoves the entire aluminum can of beer unopened into his asshole. Like just shoves it into the twink's asshole. And I'm just thinking, now this is extremely dangerous, because one single ass spasm will I mean, that can's gonna crush along with your asshole, I was concerned.
Like he could get like cut with aluminum.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about it, like an entire aluminum can in your ass. Like what if you just accidentally like squished your asshole a little bit and then poof,
Well, yeah, that could be
just a little bit of false pressure.
Wait, you think that the butthole would have enough pressure to just bust it open?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wait, so you're saying like if it busted open, well, I would just imagine it busts open and then, just like a lot of beer gets in there. But I guess you're right. It would kind of have some sharp edges. Aluminum, yeah.
I was worried for this twink. But anyways,
But he was fine.
He was totally fine. He loved it.
He was like pretty loose at that point.
He was loosey-goosey, I suppose. Yeah, he was just like, prepped and ready.
Oh my God.
And that was it. It was like a 1 minute short. Like he literally just walked up to the guy, shoved the beer into
So the
his
guy
ass.
just goes, shh. Wait, so the twink was just like, when you say ass up, was he like, I mean, actually just bending over with his butt in the air, like in a sort of downward facing dog kind of pose?
Right, no. He was like full frontal face forward in a sort of jock strap situation. Legs up, revealing asshole is what I mean. On his back, legs up, revealing asshole.
Oh my
Speaking
God.
to the daddy in a sort of way that said, "Yeah." When the daddy asked, "Hey, you want a cold one?"
Oh my God.
That was more or less the 2 lines of the short. It was, "Hey, you want a cold one?" Yeah. And then it was the act itself, and that was that. Then it wrapped up. Credits roll. Oh wait, no, actually, he drank it. He drank the beer. The twink drank the beer.
After it was in his butt?
Yeah, yeah. But that's not that crazy.
Well, he was drinking a little bit of poo. Come on, let's be real here.
Well,
There were some dingleberries on there for sure, 100%.
yeah. Maybe not on like the very top though, because I guess the very top didn't go fully in his ass, you know?
How did the top not go in? Oh, because that was the part that was facing out.
He was like holding it, you know, like insert
Oh, the top wasn't the part that was like against his hand. So he shoved
Yeah.
bottom first.
bottom
Okay,
first
gotcha.
into bottom. Yeah.
Who knows what was on that guy's hand though when he was holding that thing?
Right, right.
Point being though, you're telling me this was a sold out theater when you were there?
Yeah. Like,
And
or-
was everybody just watching just as a viewer?
I mean, people were like hooting and hollering. People were into this. Like, I mean, you know, laughing but see, the interesting part was like some are not funny. Some are like just very much just titillating. And then the audience is just like silent and we're all just like watching some like hardcore pornography on this screen.
I know, like what's going on? Are people not like kind of spritzing and spraying is what I'm talking about over here?
I mean, I think maybe confidentially they are, you know.
Do you think that there are confidential masturbators in the crowd?
I honestly wouldn't be too surprised to learn that. I didn't personally see anything, but I mean, certainly people are getting turned on at the very least, you know?
Uh-huh.
I
And
will say
was
this
it-
with, you know, hand to God, I wasn't really, like, turned on by these, but I was, like, fascinated.
No, it sounds fascinating.
Right.
Now, was this mostly a gay cinema or was it like all walks?
Oh, no, it was very much mixed. Like,
Oh, okay.
I guess maybe I've only discussed men, but
Yeah, it does seem.
but there was like all walks of life. In fact, I would say there was as much straight sex as there was gay sex. And, you know, that includes like, you know, there was like lesbian sex. Like, there was just all kinds of sex. You know?
Did they have any like people putting batteries inside of penises?
No electricity as far as I remember, actually. That was one, you know, they really missed that. They missed the mark on that. Yeah.
I just feel like that's something that I've heard about.
There was one called Cemetery Sluts that involved two people just fucking in a cemetery, and that was that. And it was straight. It was just some hardcore straight fucking. And,
Oh, that's just amateur hour at the Apollo over here.
right.
Makes
Drench. One last one that I'll talk about is Drench Garden, which was very funny. This guy is like on his little patio, and he's like very hilariously like watering his plants, but like, you know, he's just having a gay old time with it. You know, he's like, oh, like he's just like, and it's very like he put in these like cartoony sound effects, and you're just like laughing and laughing and laughing. And he's slowly like taking off his clothes as he's like watering his plants. And at first I thought like, is this gonna be it? Like this guy's just gonna like water his plants and that's that. But the big finale of it all was then, apparently, I guess the whole time he had a large amount of water in his ass because he then like flips himself over, pushes himself against a wall, like ass fully up, his legs spread wide, and you just start to see his asshole like start to sort of
Sprout.
move and gurgle, and all of a sudden eruption of water, like sprays water all over himself. So the water is spraying outward onto himself, like
Oh my
covering
God, that
his-
that's
It was-
hilarious.
It was crazy and so funny.
That is so funny.
I actually
Wait,
could not
also-
believe how much pressure he got out of it. And it just kept going and going and
So
going.
the whole time that he was watering the other stuff, he had all this water just hiding out in his rectum.
I mean, he must have, because there was no cuts. It was just like, it was just a one take kind
A
of
one
thing.
shot.
Yeah.
But you know what though? I thought it sounded like, okay, if it would have just been this guy just gaily like watering stuff, just having, as you say, a gay old time watering things and like making funny noises, and that was it.
Right.
In a way, that would be kind of awesome. Like that just sounds hilarious and funny and weird.
I mean, yeah, no, I was already enjoying it because it was like, it actually was the way he edited it and everything. Not really edited, but you know, like he added sound effects and stuff to it all, and it made it funny. Like I was already enjoying it, but then the big finale really pushed it over the edge.
Oh my gosh! Wow, I actually would be down to see that.
I mean, it's still going for, let's see, it's going in. Oh wait, October. Oh wait, no, that's last. That's How long is this going on? Well, you might have
Well, I
missed
mean,
it.
I'm down to see that particular one.
Right.
That one sounds funny.
Well, you won't be able to see just that one without going to the festival and seeing them all because they don't post these
Right.
online, unfortunately.
So basically, this is just the only time and place that you could ever see these movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Or unless you wait, it has the list of the movies and the directors' names in it in that pamphlet, right?
No director's name, so it's like totally anonymous. It just
Okay.
it just kind of shows you like the names and then like the brief description, you know.
Got it.
And I put these little stars next to the ones that I was going to talk about on the podcast, as you can see.
I see.
You know.
Well, good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho,
No, very good.
that
Very
turned
good.
into a very long segment, but it just
No,
it
no,
needed to
it's
be
good.
said. It needed to be said.
Hey, I loved it. I loved it.
Anywho, I've been talking forever.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. What's
Um,
going on with you, Laura?
But what's going on with me? I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, look, I'll mention it, but I would love to do an episode on this. I recently rewatched Jaws. I watched Jaws with my 2-year-old
Mhm.
a couple nights ago, and I mean, I had seen the movie long, long, long ago, like when I was a kid, and that was the last time I saw it. So I only had very vague memories of that movie. That just certain iconic memories of like the camera being halfway submerged in water and the waves and like the music, of course. But
Mhm.
yeah, watching it again, it's a fun movie. It's a fun watch, and it would be fun to do an episode on that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a classic
Also,
for a reason.
yeah, it's a classic. I also recently re-showed the movie, the 1990s version movie of The Witches, starring Angelica Houston and other unknown names.
Yeah,
And
the
that's a
Roald
really
Dahl.
well, it's based on the Roald Dahl book,
Yeah.
but the movie, the version that I love is, um, it came out in the 90s and it stars Angelica Houston. And I don't, did you ever see that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love that movie. It's so good.
It's so good, yeah. I was super
Yeah.
into like that and James and the Giant Peach, like all the Roald Dahl,
Oh, okay.
books that became films. I mean, I also read the books, but like I loved
yeah.
the films in particular.
I loved I mean, I read all the books too, but James and the Giant Peach, I remember coming out. Oh, well, I guess you're younger than me, but yeah, that one came out a lot later. I don't think I watched that one because that was when I feel like they started doing more CG with this sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
No, James and the
Oh
Giant
no,
Peach
was it? Oh,
is
it was
stop
claymation.
motion.
Oh, stop
Yeah.
motion. Okay.
It's so cool. Like it's like
That was sort of the like that was like the like Nightmare Before Christmas era of stuff.
Yeah, I think actually Tim Burton produced
Yeah.
it. He didn't direct it, but I
Right.
believe he produced it, and it's got a very like Nightmare Before Christmas look. I mean, just because it's stop motion claymation stuff, but I mean, it looks incredible. I mean, it's all practical.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, well, I mean, I love The Witches. It's so fun. And I mean that would be a fun movie to cover also, just because there's just so many funny quotable lines in that movie. But
Hmm.
I don't know what else is new. I'm trying to think. What did I do? Um, went to uh I don't know. I should have written some stuff down, but there's nothing a whole. I mean, like we can move on to the
No, it's
to the
fine.
movie if you want to.
Bryce just commented, "Can you guys believe they haven't remade Jaws yet? They absolutely shouldn't." But doesn't it seem like
No,
something
they-
they would do? I think,
It does seem like something they would do,
and in
that I'm
fact, I
glad
feel like
that
they will. Like I feel like that surely will happen, right?
Well, maybe like Steven Spielberg is putting his foot down on it or something like that, or I don't know.
Well, one would hope, but I don't think he
Maybe
would
he's
have much
just
of a
like-
say.
I mean, who has the say? I guess like whoever, whatever movie house.
Because
put
I
it
guess I
out.
don't know who. I guess I would just assume that he wouldn't have the say, that the studio would have the say.
Right, the studio.
Unless
What
he would have
studio-
had the wherewithal to have like gotten the rights to the IP Jaws, but I don't think that would
I don't know
be-
how it works.
Like I don't think the director would own the IP, you know. The studio is going to want to make sure they lock
I
that
don't
shit
know.
down.
It's also kind of like such an iconic movie that maybe they just don't feel like they could possibly fucks with it. You know what I mean?
But there was sequels, wasn't there?
Oh yes, there were sequels, but like to do a remake of the first one feels like maybe they finally like maybe people are actually sensible enough to just realize like there's no way they're gonna.
No way.
There's just no point, you know?
No way. I mean, obviously I'm with you and I agree they shouldn't, but I just feel like they've already proven that nothing is sacred as far as classic horror movies. Like they remade, or maybe
Well,
not even
but
remake, but
Jaws.
like bring back in a sort of reboot kind of way, like Halloween, The Exorcist. Like this is like a huge trend that's going on, is like bring
No.
back the classic horror movies, but like in a new modern way, you know?
Okay. But like I think Jaws is regarded not just as like a classic horror movie, but as one of the great movies of history, like in film history.
But as would The Exorcist, though, you know? The Exorcist,
I
I mean,
don't
won an
know if
Academy Award.
Oh, it did. Okay. Well, hey, I don't know. I
Um,
mean, yeah, I would be actually maybe be somewhat interested in seeing the remake of that. I heard it was
of The
no, I don't know
Exorcist.
what I Yeah. Did someone say that was
It's supposed to be absolutely fucking awful,
Oh, okay, then never mind. No, I
but I
don't
would
maybe
watch
it
it
was
because it could be fun. Like it could be so bad it's like good, you know?
I don't know. No, I mean, if it's terrible, I don't know, but I just for some reason I thought I heard that it was maybe kind of good, but
Oh, I've only
anyway,
heard terrible things. But and if anyone in the chat has seen it, let us know what you thought of the Exorcist. I think it's called The Exorcist Believer or something. Um,
um
but
but
yeah.
yeah, man, Jaws is just it's so 70s. Oh my God, it's hilarious how 70s it is. But, it's interesting cuz like it is so 70s and the way the 70s are portrayed in 70s cinema is obviously so different than the way like 70s era is portrayed in like a current day film. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Or like a movie that came out in the 60s is going to clearly be a different look than like a movie that is about the 60s
Hmm.
now. And I guess that is a nice segue into the movie that we're about to review
Yeah.
because like I mean as a preface I really I the thing I love so much about Sofia Coppola is like her like the way that her vision seems to really come to life on screen like for the movies that she makes, and a lot of that is portrayed just in the general like mise en scène and the art direction and the lighting, and there's like a certain like nuance and subtlety to the characters that she focuses on that I think is really like what's at the core of her movies that makes them compelling. It's not so much that they're like storyline driven, but they're just kind of almost meditative. You know what I mean? In a
Well,
certain kind of
yeah.
way.
Should we introduce? Do you want to get into the film then?
Kind of, yeah. But I was just gonna say, like, her depiction of this era of time. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, it's obviously gonna be like, it's Elvis, so it's Priscilla Presley slash Elvis, so it's like 1960s, and it captures such a certain quality of that time. It zeroes in on a certain quality that was present at the time, but that's not but it's like not all there is, but in her movies she creates that entire like the entire world is that certain element, you know what I mean, that you
Hmm.
can see in like 60s cinema or in 60s just like whatever nostalgic any kind of memorabilia or fashion or whatever.
Hmm.
You see part like aspects of that, but she extracts these certain kinds of essences and then like brings them to life on screen and like and makes that the entire vision, which I think
Hmm.
is cool. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's all I'm gonna say for now about it. But
Well, we could get into it if.
yeah, sure, let's just do that. I don't know. I don't have that much interesting else to say for about what I've been up to lately.
Yeah. Well, feel
Other
free
than
to.
just
You can
maybe I'll
always.
remember some stuff.
Yeah, derail us if you so wish. I'm happy to be derailed.
I
But
feel like there was something I want to talk about, but I can't remember right now. So let's just keep going.
okay. All right. Well, with that, we will probably transition over to Priscilla. Let me pull up the poster. There you go. So Priscilla, as we've kind of already alluded to, is written and directed by Sofia Coppola. It is a 2023 biographical film that centers on Priscilla Presley, the wife of Elvis Presley. Basically, just follows her relationship, her complicated relationship with Elvis. More or less starts from them meeting and onward. And yeah, so it came out last year. It is Sofia Coppola. If you don't know, I'll just mention a few of the other films that she's directed. She always writes her films that she directs as well, which is worth noting. But I think many people know The Virgin Suicides. Lost in Translation is, of course, another huge one. Marie Antoinette.
Beguiled. Oh,
Yeah,
well,
Marie Antoinette, The Bling Ring, Beguiled, Beguiled, which we actually did on this very podcast many
Oh my
years
God, I
ago.
need to see the Bling Ring. I recently listened to a podcast about that group of people,
Mm.
the Bling Ring, and now I really want to see that movie.
Yeah, Sofia
Did you know
Coppola.
about that? Did you see that?
I didn't see it, but I know about the story. Yeah,
Oh, we should do that.
could
That could
do.
be fun.
Uh,
All right, Karen, keep going.
and yeah, I think more or less those are like the most well-known ones. And now she's back with Priscilla. Um, yeah. So why don't we start with? Oh, I guess I could mention that it stars Kaylee Spaney and Jacob Elordi. Jacob Elordi, you probably know from. Also, he's kind of blown up right now, but he's I think most known for
Saltburn.
his his roles in Saltburn and also Euphoria on HBO. So he stars as Elvis, and Kaylee Spaney stars as the titular character, Priscilla Presley, that is. So yeah,
Emphasis on the tit.
yeah, the titular character. Um, yeah, so if you don't know, we always start our reviews spoiler free. So we're just gonna kind of talk like top level stuff, what we thought about the movie, the vibe, all that, and then we're gonna save any discussion on the actual story until the end. Of course, this is like a biographical film, so I wouldn't really call any of this spoilers, but we'll still not discuss the actual plot or anything that's like feels a little too revealing about the film until later. So with that, Laura, yeah, what did you think of Priscilla?
I didn't hate it. I mean, I thought it was nice. You know, I like to just I feel like when you watch a Sofia Coppola movie, you kind of my expectation is that I'm going to get to just kind of sink into a mood and in a world that's going to be very pretty and like fun to look at and fun to just be surrounded by for a little while. And that it will probably go down into a dark path at some point, but the pattern that I notice in her films, although I don't know if I can say this about Lost in Translation, it's been a while since I've seen that, is that she always captures like when she's doing historical dramas, she always captures like the fun party element or like the most romantic parts of that story really well, and it really like pulls you in as a viewer and makes you kind of like just want to live that experience, you know what I mean, and creates just such an inviting romanticized world
Mm-hmm.
of even the darkest tales, like for like Marie Antoinette, for example, and well, Beguiled, I can't really remember that movie that well, but I do remember it being very like romantic and beautiful, at least like visually. Um, but and Virgin Suicides too, like has this really fun like kind of atmosphere when we first go into it, and she often I feel like she's attracted to coming of age and
Mm-hmm.
like youth and young naivete, like in the beginning of a story where the character eventually becomes extremely wizened by the hard facts of life. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
And
Like
and
that
in
seems to be a common
infatuation
theme.
and love, I feel like is
Yeah, well, infatuation and love is like a common theme that leads to like ultimately like, you know, demise or heartbreak. And that it's I don't think that's a spoiler in any way here,
Mhm.
but the beginning of that story always and for in the reality of those stories is always like so infatuating and so like overtaking, you know what I mean, like it just it's like you're on a drug, you know what I mean, and you want to just kind of like float into that world, and she really does a good job with that in this movie. I feel like at first it's like everything feels so magical and like it's all good and everything doesn't seem to have like a dark side to it. It all feels like everything seems honest and good, and that there's this real spark of romance happening, and all their surroundings are beautiful. Their clothes are perfect. The color scheme is very like pale powder blue, that like 1960s like high end 1960s
Mm-hmm.
sort of like what do you call that? I can't remember the name that I'm thinking of, but those kinds of like white velvet like sorry, white leather couches with the those indentations in it. And you see a
Mm.
lot of that in the movie. And just I don't know, that pale powder blue color is to me like so reflective of the mood of this movie and the mood that there's that feeling that I think of that feeling a lot when I think of like that time period and also going like even moving into the 1970s. I feel like there's something about that tone
Hmm.
of color and that mood that reminds me of what my perception of that era that I always had like as a child, like looking at photographs and magazines that my parents had
Hmm.
and like of them and the way I saw my mom and maybe like what it was like for her when she was younger. Those kinds of colors and there's a certain like lonely, dusty kind of like pale lighting type of feel that she's infused into like the first half of the movie that it's not all there is to that time period, but it's one part of it that really resonates with me and that she really like she just kind of emanated that throughout the whole first half of the movie and I really really liked how she did that with the just the way that she did that was really cool,
Hmm.
and it really pulled me in. So I enjoyed I guess I enjoyed just kind of getting lost in the movie and also it was I feel like the dramatic moments were compelling enough and I was interested. I didn't really know that much about their dynamic, like Priscilla and Elvis Presley's relationship, but also, yeah, knowing it was interesting to find out a little bit about her history and kind of like who she was and what she was about. So yeah, I thought it
Yeah.
was kind of good. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah, we should. I should mention too that it's based on a 1985 memoir by Priscilla Presley
Right.
called Elvis and Me, and also worth noting, Priscilla Presley is an executive producer on the film, so she did play a part behind the scenes as well.
Right.
For uh, well,
Oh, I don't doubt that. I'm
yeah.
sure she was probably like a resource for not
Hmm.
just fact checking, but also like making sure that she probably approved of. But I just think that you can really tell that Sofia Coppola is like behind this movie. You know what I mean? It's
Oh
clearly
yeah,
like
totally, yeah,
it just has her style all over it. So,
yeah.
and I like her style, and I also really enjoyed Marie Antoinette. And I don't know if other people would agree with that opinion, but
Oh no, I
I
think
thought that.
that's a pretty beloved one by her. I haven't
Oh,
seen it,
okay.
but
Oh my God, it's so fun.
but I know I know that's high on people's lists.
She
Um,
takes these like historical, I mean, figures and stories and makes them into like fun, universal coming of age movies, basically, in a way. That's kind of how I see it.
mhm, mhm. Yeah,
She
I.
extracts, yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go
Oh
ahead.
no, no, sorry.
No, 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 no. I'm done.
Well, I definitely agree on Sofia Coppola's style. I think I always like visually what she's doing, and the movie is totally gorgeous. I mean, the production design is amazing. The cinematography is amazing. Just the look. The I mean, every set is just a joy to look at. The costumes are awesome. So I mean, yeah, like as far as all that goes, it's like I love it actually.
Yeah.
But I think in similar ways to how I tend to not connect with Sofia Coppola's work was a similar way that I didn't connect with this one,
Uh-huh,
which
which one?
is kind of like character and um
Substance.
uh I think it's mostly character. Like I find sometimes her characters to be like so subtle that it's almost like hard to even grasp and really like deeply empathize with them. And now sometimes I do. It's not like across the board, but like because I love Lost in Translation. I love that movie so much. It's like by far my favorite of hers that I've seen, and it's just like it's just an incredible film. Virgin Suicides is also so incredible. Like I think I connected more with her early work in general, but I think visually she's like leaps and bounds beyond where she was even then. But I think what now they sort of lack is like just a certain depth that I like. Um, I kind of felt like Priscilla in this, and I was wondering too if it has to do partly with the fact that Priscilla Presley was involved in it. Like
Yeah.
I totally get that this is from the perspective of Priscilla,
Oh.
But I also feel like we almost learn nothing negative about Priscilla, like whatsoever. She's basically
Oh.
just like, I mean, you know, she like experiments with some stuff that could be considered, you know, um, looked down upon or something. But like overall, she's a very like glossy. It's like the very glossy character in this of like she's just doing the right thing and Elvis is definitely not. And like I'm not even
I don't
doubting that like I'm sure Elvis was fucking terrible to her, like no doubt in my mind, but it would have made me more empathetic and like compassionate to her if we could also like see her, you know, maybe alone, like doing more things that felt like, you know, like fill out her as a person, even the questionable behavior, you know.
uh-huh.
Like she didn't feel like a very complex character in this film, you know. It felt
See,
like yeah, go ahead.
right. Oh, no, no, no. I was just gonna say that well, I actually did think that she was kind of a complex character because you get the sense that she's obviously unhappy, but then
Hmm.
she continues to she's obviously like addicted to this relationship. She's embedded in this relationship. She does not see any other way out, like any other way to exist, like beyond this relationship. Of course, they were together since the time she was 14, so that's
Hmm.
kind of an interesting thing. But I
Totally.
think that, well, I mean, on the negative end of the spectrum in terms of how we view her character, it's like she comes across, I think, um, well, not just comes across, but her actions could easily be interpreted as like that of a weak person. You know what I mean? Because she's just completely, uh, she submits to all of like Elvis's demands, like without
Hmm.
even like she barely puts up a fight. She'll kind of put up a fight and then she just kind of concedes. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't. Um.
Yeah. Which actually was interesting to me. Like, I mean, in the beginning of the film, especially when you're sort of seeing her essentially just submit to his every demand, with no questioning whatsoever
Well, I think she questions it, but she completely represses it.
in the
But I
beginning.
also think
Yeah.
I think that is a little bit of a reflection of the times too, and like how
Hmm.
women in generally like were expected to behave and how a lot of times they did behave, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But that she probably did have a lot more. I feel like she does, to me, like emit a quality of complexity that we're not able to fully explore because she herself was never able to fully explore it because she
Sure.
was just like so entrenched in this world and this relationship as like sort of a prisoner, and that she just, yeah, like she basically like missed out on being able to really explore who she was
Right.
outside of the cage of this, of Graceland or whatever.
Which I found like but I also thought it was, uh, I felt a lot of empathy for, like I totally got her thought process too of like being with this very famous person who makes her feel like she's the one for him, you know, and so like this kind of almost,
In
you're
moments,
falling in
yeah.
love with, what's that term called, you know, Stockholm syndrome in a way where it's like even though he's quite horrible to her, especially as time goes on, um, he like says enough just like beautiful little sweet nothings to her, and just given the situation of like she's, I mean he's so famous and like she
Right.
gets seduced by his, you know, his things and
Right.
like and his lifestyle and like all these sorts of things that she's like, wow, all of this is just so amazing, like I've never experienced anything like this. So like why wouldn't I just continue loving him because he provides so much else beyond, but like what he isn't really providing is true love for her, you know. It's just
Right.
like come along with me for the journey of my life,
But not
and
even
be
but
happy
not even
about
come
it.
along with me. Like live in my this
Yeah, yeah,
prison cell that I can provide for you while I go off and have adventures.
yeah.
It's like she has to basically watch from very distant sidelines. And I think that there's like I can see what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like it's not we're not seeing her as any kind of villain. Like we don't see she's not being depicted in any way that is like a way that we would judge her uh with any kind of like distaste or anger. There's nothing about her character in this movie that would make the viewer feel like unsympathetic towards her.
Which I only say because I actually think that sometimes makes me more sympathetic to someone when I like understand their flaws and the ways that their flaws manifest are very understandable. And I think there's like a little tiny bit of that with like what you're saying as far as her complicit nature and just sort of deferring to Elvis at every turn. That is, of course, a flaw, I guess. But I guess what I'm talking about is outside of their relationship, who is she? You know, like I wanted to
Well,
know.
that's the thing is, I think that's kind of what's at the heart of the movie is who is she outside of their relationship?
Right.
We don't know, and she doesn't know.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what it comes down to is like she didn't. I mean, at least from the lens of this movie, and maybe there is more to it that we don't know, but it seems like that she was so entrenched and so trapped that she could never find out really who she was. And
Yeah.
only at the very end do we discover like, oh, she has these other things that she wants to do. Like she obviously wanted to explore, wanted to be able to like have relationships and develop more as an individual. But I mean, at the age of 14, whisked away into like the grounds of the gates of Graceland, not being allowed to ever have any friends or have anybody over,
Mm-hmm.
and was so like strictly watched. It makes you think, okay, so that's. But of course, that could be the manipulation of the movie, and maybe there is a lot more to the story that we don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was largely like the reality of the movie. I mean, the reality of
Oh,
the situation,
yeah.
being a
Yeah.
14-year-old. And I guess it's interesting that if it is true that her parents just like signed off on her being allowed to go live with this 24-year-old and his family. I mean, I think about that in my child. I'm like, would I let my 14-year-old kid just like go live somewhere else? I would be so bummed to have to say goodbye to my kid that early.
Well,
But
sure,
I
but
don't know.
like, I
Times
mean,
were
you know,
different
what
back
if they were
then.
Elvis? You know what I mean? Like, what if
If
it
they were
was?
Elvis, I'd be like, you're not doing it. No.
Yeah, but I think the parents were also in a way kind of like,
Also infatuated by the idea.
I guess they don't really get into it in the film, but I could see that being a
Right.
factor. Like, I mean, wouldn't that be a factor for these parents too? Is like, damn, our daughter is with Elvis. Shit. You know, like
Well,
they don't
they
get
didn't.
into
They
it, but you know.
Yeah, they didn't make it seem like that. It made it seem like they were more concerned about doing it. But it's like,
But
I
wouldn't
guess
they be
maybe
a little
times are
bit,
different.
you know?
But again, like I guess ultimately for me, it's not about all that. It's more just about like you just get to dive into this little dreamy kind of world for a while and like get lost in it. And I kind of like that about her movies, is that they feel very they're like a nice dream that has a dark edge to it.
Hmm.
That's kind
Yeah.
of how I feel about all her movies, which is it's fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed my time with it. Like I thought it was good overall. It just like didn't it's not really going to like stick with me. It's not like I didn't find it to be outstanding. I just sort of watched
Right.
it and
Well,
liked
I
it
feel that.
and I'm just going to move right along with my life. Like it didn't I think what would have really like pulled me in and moved it beyond just being like a kind of fun watch because I also didn't know anything about Priscilla Presley honestly. So it was
Uh,
interesting to learn about their relationship and some dynamics that I had no idea about that we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, like ultimately it just kind of it came and went a little bit for me. Like, and I think what would have pulled me in more is, yeah, I think maybe it's knowing Priscilla a little more, but I also just think if, I don't know. I think I guess that's just my main problem
well,
because I love the
fair enough.
direction. Like I love her sense of storytelling. Even I like that it's like this kind of quiet, simmering thing. But yeah, like there was a couple times in the film that I felt it's like she is one way until all of a sudden she's not that way, and then she,
Uh-huh.
like there was these moments where I was like, I don't know what to make of this right now. Like,
Yeah.
we'll get to it.
I
We'll
mean,
get to it.
I think that's a good point. I do think it's a good point though, that the fact like I think that you're probably onto something when you say that maybe we're not seeing a lot of complexity because of the fact that Priscilla Presley was like one of the producers and was kind of
Right. I
there the
mean,
whole time.
and it's worth noting too that she couldn't get Elvis's music approved for this because the estate did not approve of the film. So,
Well, it's not a very flattering
oh, of course not, of course not. And
depiction.
I'm not saying that like I'm shocked of that. What I'm saying is like it might have been a more interesting film if neither party was involved in the production rather
Right.
than just one party. Because I think it should either be both should like both should be involved in some way or neither should be involved. And honestly, I think
Well, I guess it's interesting just because she's still alive, you know?
yeah,
There's not, I mean, like, I don't know if I can think of a lot of biopics of people who are alive that are like, you know, that I can say were very good.
yeah, yeah.
Or even about people that are not like no longer alive. I mean, I don't know if I can think of one about anybody that's still alive except for maybe George W. or whatever that was. W.
George W. Oh,
I
the
think there
film
was
W. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, W. I didn't see it, but
Well, I tend to just be more into documentaries, honestly, about people. Like biographical documentaries are more interesting to me
the
than
biopics.
yeah, than biopics usually. Like for example, Amy Winehouse's documentary I think is incredible. Like and there's tons of like footage that they grabbed like from her personal archive of like
Right.
it's very like personal and real and you're actually seeing Amy Winehouse say and do these things. Contrast that to like I don't know if you've seen this new trailer for this upcoming Amy Winehouse biopic because it looks
Oh
fucking
no.
horrible. It looks
Oh
so
God.
stupid. Like I watched the
Really?
trailer and I'm cringing as I'm watching it because I'm like, first of all, this actress does not sell me as Amy Winehouse, but also
Uh-huh.
it already looks so just like glossed over and kind of like this like fairy tale version of what Amy Winehouse's life might have been like and is going to definitely paint her in this like I think a little more flattering light or something. And I just feel like
They're probably not going to show the video of her in a fucking blue lit like rat infested apartment with what's that guy's name that used
right,
to go out with Kate Moss and they're talking to actual rats on
right.
crack and they're on crack.
Exactly. Like they're not going to go there in the biopic.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that crazy fucking video? Oh
Well,
my
it might be in
God.
the doc because I feel like I have, but have you
It's
seen
like
the
she
doc?
just yeah, I did, but there's no I don't think this was in the documentary.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember it being in the documentary. I read about this. This was because the C Word, my favorite podcast, did an episode on Amy Winehouse and they
Mhm.
talked about this really dark moment where she's like and this was all over the tabloids. It was like a video that was captured somehow. They're smoking crack and they're in this like really scary, just very cold and intense looking like small, dingy, dark dungeon of a room with like a blue fluorescent light, and there are rats
Mhm.
in the room because it's rat infested, and they're like on crack, and they're so fucked up that they're just talking to the rats. They're like, "Oh, hi, I'm so in you. I want you to come be my husband." And then the other guy, I'm trying to remember his name. What's that rock star's name that went out with Kate Moss? You
Well,
know,
and
he's
just famously,
He's like a notorious
yeah,
asshole
yeah,
guy. He was like a hard heroin addict guy.
yeah. I'll figure it out.
Know what I'm talking about?
Well, you're talking about her like the main one, right?
Not the main one. No, it was
Oh,
a
okay.
different guy. I'm trying to remember his name right now, but I
Well,
can't.
whatever. Oh, the
And
main one
they're
that she went with was Blake. Famously,
not
Blake is the one who like was her downfall.
right, Blake. But not no, not him. It was this other one, the other guy who went out with Kate Moss. Oh my God, he was in the Raconteurs. I think no, not Raconteurs.
My
No,
mom,
sorry, that's
Anakin's is saying Johnny Depp.
no, not Johnny Depp. Oh my God, what's his name?
I don't
Look up
know.
who. Anyway, okay, so like they're both using these rats, these just not pet rats, but like dirty sewer rat type rats, as little puppets to kind of like play weird crackhead love
Is
games
it
with each
Pete
other.
Doherty?
Yes, Pete Doherty. Thank you,
Doherty? Okay.
Pete Doherty.
I did
Yeah,
a
they're
little
both on crack.
Googling.
Look at that video. It is dark, dark, dark. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, anyways, to get back,
Scary.
yeah, to get back to this though, like Amy's biopic has her estate involved, and therefore will not be, I think, as honest as it could be. And I just think that this probably falls a little prey to that as well.
But wait, so what? Amy's estate wasn't involved in the documentary?
Um, Well, I don't know, actually.
I mean, they must have had to have signed off on something.
Well, they might have signed off on it, but I guess it's just like it is real, like it's a documentary. So I don't think
Yeah.
that they get as much say in it, because it's not like a fictional depiction of it. It's like it just is what it is, and so it's like
Yeah, but you can still manipulate, like, footage and the storytelling of a person's life to a degree, even in documentary form. Or you can certainly omit certain, like you can demand to omit things. Or I don't really know how it works, but anyway.
I don't know. I'm not seeing it in a quick little Google search here, but
I'm sure it will be terrible.
yeah, that will be bad. But yeah, I just think I think it would have been interesting if Elvis's estate was involved, or neither were involved. Is I guess what I'm saying, and I think neither would be the better way, because it actually oddly enough, even though there is no Elvis music in this, I didn't really miss it either, because it's not
Right.
really like about him.
No, it was like I almost thought it was like too much about him, even though it wasn't about him. It was like he was almost too much of the focus some of the time. You know what I mean? Although I will say I did not mind looking at Jacob Elordi like
You-
as a young Elvis.
You do like him, don't
He-
you?
Well, I do find him attractive. No, I mean like he is an attractive young lad. But I almost feel pedophilish saying that because he is so much younger than me.
Oh,
But,
whatever.
but he looks
he's
older.
of age.
He's of age. No, he no, the young. It's funny how he really is an attractive younger Elvis, but then God, the older Elvis is just so not hot. My God,
Well, I think
what was he?
that's
No,
also
I don't-
just the truth of the matter,
No,
too.
no,
Like,
no. I
yeah.
know. I'm just saying, like, what was old Elvis thinking with these outfits and these sideburns? I mean, who
Yeah.
thought that was a good look? It was not a good look.
Yeah, well, I think he was kind of going for this like larger than life, superhero type figure.
But like, don't you still want to be attractive to like the ladies?
One would think.
That was not a good look. No, I'm sorry, men. I hate to break it to you, but these mutton chop things, it just doesn't look good. No one likes them. Get rid of it.
Soylent Heston commented, Elvis Costello. Is there another Elvis I should know about? Someday you'll learn about this Elvis, Mr. Soylent. I was gonna say Jacob Elordi is 26. So he's of age. I find him like attractive in a sort of just like generic kind of,
Come on. No, he's beyond generic. No, he has a very like boy. He does have a kind of a boyish appeal.
He's attractive.
That's-
But like I
He's
don't
got
know.
a look in the eyes. He does have an intense look in the eye.
He's
He
a good
does
actor.
not. He's not a far cry from a Call Me by Your Name era
Timothy
Timothy
Chalamet.
Chalamet. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but see, I've also fallen off the Timothy Chalamet wagon
Oh,
too. Like
I've
don't
been
find him
off the Timothy
attractive. Yeah.
I have been way off the Timothy Chalamet wagon for at least,
I'm off the stuff.
a decade, if we can call it that. But yeah, I'm off the stuff.
Yeah,
But-
I really was only attracted to him in Calling by Your Name, mainly because
he
that
ha-
character is so attractive to me.
The character, he had something in that movie.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, he's like not bad in the movie The King either, which was a made for Netflix movie.
I know, I really liked that one.
He looked pretty good with that sort of king haircut or whatever, the bowl cut that he
That
had.
was good. But these days,
It
he's
was-
very like I don't
No,
know,
I'm
TikTok
not-
star looking.
I'm not on board with it. I'm not on board with it. But the Jacob Elordi look, I mean, like he looked good in the earlier half of this movie.
Yeah, more than
And
half really.
one thing I also really liked was kind of the intimate way that they were talking to each other in the beginning, like just the really like soft tones that they were speaking in.
Mm.
You could almost barely hear what they were saying, but it really created a sense of like real intimacy and chemistry between the two of them, which I liked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me to say more, I would want to like talk more specifics about some revelations that I learned about the relationship, which I would consider to be our spoiler section. But to, did you have anything else?
Yeah.
Did you
No,
have
I'm
anything
good.
else you wanted? Okay.
I'm down to jump into spoilers. Are Cooper still here with us? I mean, you don't have to say, but
I mean, Bryce recently
see Bryce
commented.
Bryce is here.
Bryce?
Wait, Bryce, you didn't even watch this movie, which is fine.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Nicole is also, she was commenting earlier. Actually, I should read her comment.
Oh, cool.
Nicole
Yeah,
said,
go ahead.
I think Priscilla's limited POV, even of her even of her self-awareness serves the film eventually and is not in despite of. So I think she's kind of talking about like the POV of the film is very much Priscilla's POV, and I think that kind of, you know, added a certain element for her. And I appreciate that. But yeah, it's funny because even though it was so clearly her POV, I feel like we still barely knew her, even after spending an hour and a half with her, or more than an hour and a half, really. But
also, like, think about it. She was 14 when
in the
she
very
was like
beginning of the
basically
film, but
cut
we're
off.
seeing
I know she was 14 when she was cut off from the world, though. So it's like what she didn't get to really develop at that point. Like from that point on, she was just like closed off,
right, it's like a Michael
isolated.
Jackson kind of situation where they're thrust into stardom at an early age, and so then therefore they don't really actually get to live their normal lives. Though he was much younger, but you know, I think this happens a lot.
No,
for
I
famous
I
people.
guess. I mean, I guess the way that we see her point of view in this movie is that like her whole world revolves around Elvis and waiting for him. And like the only times we really see her are either when he has just left and she's lonely, or
Right.
when he comes back and she is like playing the role of his, you know, devoted significant other.
Yeah, which is part
So
of the
you're
problem for me
right.
because it's like
Right. So we don't
when
really
she is
see her on the
alone,
day to day. Yeah,
right.
we don't see her.
When she is alone, like the only times I'm even remembering is just like her with the phone, and she's like, "When are you coming back, baby?" You know, like
Right. It's just all about him.
twirling her little her finger around the phone cord, you know. And granted, I'm not saying that didn't happen. Like I believe it all, but I just wish we got a little more of what is she doing in this mansion, you know? Like let's get into it, you know.
Right. It's like if this is about Priscilla, let's look at her as an individual rather than just Elvis's girlfriend or wife.
Right, which
Because maybe if she really is like an individual who deserves to be recognized as such. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
like what's she doing all day, you know?
Like, let's see her not in relation to Elvis. Like, let's see her as just a woman. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
not just Elvis's wife or girlfriend.
Yeah, like we see her in class a little bit, but I just feel like that really gave us nothing.
But her in class is also like she's Elvis's girlfriend in a class.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that is intrinsically a part of her identity. It's never separate from her. Like and maybe that was part of her reality, but even when she's in class, you only see her talking like when she interacts with other students, it's like, do you want to go to an Elvis show? Let me copy your test.
Right.
Like it's never her just talking to somebody about something completely unrelated to Elvis.
Yes. Right.
Which, like, I mean, surely there were moments in her life where she didn't just talk about him all the time,
And that's
right?
that's what I want some of.
Right. No,
Just a
I
little
hear that.
something of, you know? Like what
I hear that. I hear that.
and even not even interacting. Like, in fact, I'd actually prefer if we just saw moments of her alone, not interacting with anyone. Like, what is she doing around that mansion? That's what I want to know. Like, while she's waiting these months and months for Elvis to come back on tour, like, she can't possibly have just been, like, calling him every day and that's her whole life. Like, she
There
must
must have
been
been a
doing
moment
something.
when she was like on the toilet and being like, I
Right.
wonder if my toenails need to get a new manicure. I mean,
Exactly.
granted, she did paint her nails once, but it was like every single thing we saw of her was in relation to Elvis. So it's
Mhm.
like, I can't think of a moment where she was just like, let me read a Nancy Drew book. Or, yeah, like, let me, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Do
Soylent
anything.
Heston commented, this cracked me up, doesn't pass the Elvis Bechtel test. Which is true. You know about the Bechtel the Bechtel test? I never know how
No.
you say that. But it basically is a test for films and TV and whatever. And to pass that test, you have to have two women talk to each other in the film that aren't talking about a man. And many films, of course, don't pass the Bechdel test. And it's kind of just this ironic thing about, not ironic, but, you know, this interesting insight into how, you know, male creators so completely dominate the space in film that, you know, female voices are suppressed. Like, not only are there much less female directors, but then it's also just like many stories are not even written by women, but even though they feature women. And it's kind of like, it's funny because oftentimes men will write stories where women only are who they are in relation to a man, rather than just like who they are as themselves. And it is kind of funny because this movie is like, it kind of is still that, even though it's so very sympathetic and admiring of Priscilla. It's still kind of like she is just who she is in relation to Elvis, you know?
Nicole Vanis says she's barely a person, and that's the point. But like, let's be real. I mean, she's not just a person. She is not just. She is a person. Like everybody is an individual, and like that is a fact. And even though one's life might revolve heavily around another person, there were months, probably like, I don't know, at least months on end where she was not around Elvis. She must have done something that didn't have to do with him on a day-to-day basis, or like at least some of the time. And so I think what Dominic is saying is like, it would have been interesting to see like what some of her like inner, thoughts and desires might have been. And even though a lot of it probably did revolve around him, there had to be more than just that.
Or if
Because
she was never going to do, if she couldn't do something because of who she was in relation to Elvis, like in a famous kind of sense, I would have liked the film to have let us know that. To, for example, like maybe she goes out shopping, but she can't shop because she's like too famous now as this like Elvis, the
well, they did let us know that. They did let us know that.
Right, but I guess like
A little bit.
I wasn't really picking up that they were telling us that she couldn't really exist as a person because of how famous she was necessarily.
I think they did do that. Like she wanted to go. They were like, no, you can't have any friends over. You're not allowed to bring any strangers over to Graceland. And then she's like sitting outside with her dog, and they're like, don't make such a public display of yourself.
That was funny.
And like, no, I think there were moments where they were making it clear that she could not function as like a normal person. But with all that said, obviously she was a person. She must have had some interest in like, she did develop to some degree before she met Elvis. Like, what did she like before she met him? You know what I mean? What were some of the things she liked? Did she like horses? Did she like, I don't know. She must have liked certain things or wanted to do certain things, or I don't know.
Yeah, let's
It really only focused on the times where she was in direct relation to him. It feels like or thinking about him. There had to have been more to it than that, though, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm gonna put the spoilers up because I do want to get into just some of the more personal things that they get into about their relationship. That, again, it's like a biopic, so it's kind of like you can know these things just from Googling or whatever. But I would consider it to be more of the spoilers, I guess, of the film, which is like what you learn about the relationship. So if you don't want to hear about that, now would be the time to tune out. But I don't think it really spoils the film. I don't really think it spoils the film regardless, but something to note. So I have our spoiler warning up, and with that, I just kind of wanted to like get into some of the things that they're actually fighting about, which I found really interesting. I think one of the biggest ones is sex and their lack of sex.
Right. It's like he wanted her to be the Madonna.
Yeah, well, I honestly was like a little still ultimately confused as to like, I mean, I kind of got some vibes of like what they were hinting at was the reason that he wasn't really having sex with her. But
like maybe he had just had sex with somebody else and he like couldn't get it up.
Well, that's what I initially thought was in the beginning when they weren't having sex, but he was going off and like, I think heavily insinuated that he's probably having sex on tour with other women. I thought that what they were kind of saying was like, she was just sort of this like body for him. Like he wasn't even attracted to her. She was just sort of like this home body that he could like just have around, like just someone to be around him. I thought maybe that's where they were going with it, but then it kind of seems like, well, but no, he actually does seem like he is attracted to her.
No, it's the Madonna whore complex. That's exactly what I thought it was.
What is that?
The Madonna whore complex is that you don't want your wife to be the whore. You want her to be the one who's going to be the mother of your child, who's going to be pure and innocent, and like that's the thing that you come home to. But the whore is the person that you fuck and that you don't have a relationship with. And the minute that you fucking have a relationship with somebody, they become a whore and they're no longer able to serve that pure angelic figure in your life.
Even in the sense of like, they're even in the sense of when they're faithful to you and you alone, that would in the mind of someone who thinks this way, it's still like that.
That's pretty sure that's how it works. Yeah, that's the complex. Is like you don't want the woman who is your pure virginal like wife figure to be a whore.
But I just feel like whore implies that she's like sleeping with
Sex.
multiple people.
No, it just means like having sex and being dirty and nasty and like, hardcore, like animalistic. You want you like there's like this desire to have this virginal, like angelic. You want to possess both. You want to be able to possess the virgin and you also want to be able to have sex with the whore. But you don't want them to be the same person.
Well, certainly, I think that sounds very viable as to what was going on. But yeah, I just
That's
was a
what
little
it seemed like he
confused.
was going for.
Because then I was also wondering, like, was religion a factor? Because they kind of, for a section in the film, he's getting deep into the Bible. And,
Well, it's
or
weird.
just,
It
like,
seemed like he was also into like
yogi.
it seemed like he was getting into like Buddhism or some shit like that.
Well, it just seemed like maybe he was just into
Exploring spirituality.
Like yeah. And so I thought maybe they were hinting like, oh, he's like one of these all-American boys who I also was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe he's this all-American boy who just wants to save himself for marriage kind of thing. But then it's clear that he's having sex with other women. So then that went out the window. I just was like,
No, I
ultimately,
think that's why I think he was wanting her to just like remain this virginal presence in his life that made him feel a sense of that he has this like pure thing that he actually is rooted to and comes home to. And that's ultimately like why he chose her as his wife, because she maybe represented that to him and he didn't want to like alter that. It's like he even says in the beginning is, now don't go changing who you are. Like, I don't want you to change from this, like when I come back. But she's
Right.
fucking 14. Of course she's going to change. You know what I mean? It's so unrealistic that she wouldn't change.
Yeah.
And she goes, I won't. And maybe in a way she doesn't, you know what I mean? Because he puts that on her from the beginning, that he puts that really unrealistic demand on her to not change from this virginal 14-year-old that he met. This pure, it's like, and also he has this mother complex, right? Like, 'cause he was close with his mother, who I guess, I don't know, did she die? I forget.
Yeah,
I did. So maybe he has this thing where he wants to have this like mother or maternal figure, and he sees somehow that in the form of this virginal 14-year-old. And he like wants her to serve that role in his life, but he doesn't want it. Nobody like wants to have sex with their mother. Well, maybe some people would say that they do, but like
in a Freudian way.
right. But like he didn't want to have sex with his mother. He wanted to marry his mother. He wanted his mother to like take care of him and be the mother of his child. But he didn't want to like fuck his mother. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like she wanted to fuck.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
she
she
wanted
wanted
to be
to-
desired. I mean, she quite literally says that, I think, where she's like, a woman wants to be desired or something along those lines.
No, she was
to
like,
him.
"What about my desires? What about my desires?" And he was just like, "We don't want to let our desires get the best of us." Which is like so outrageous.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously he's like a total asshole and has this like one track mind of like he just wants her to be. Yeah, I think what you're saying as far as like this 14-year-old in mindset too of just she just is like whatever you say, yes, sure, like this. He just wants her to be deferring to him no matter what he says, like there when he wants her to be and not when he doesn't want her to be, and it obviously upsets him when she eventually starts to like push back a little bit, which I found. This was sort of what I was hinting at when we were talking earlier. I found it a little. I found it initially when she first like pushes back the very first time, it really felt like it came out of nowhere in a way, and it also felt like, well, finally she's standing up for herself, but then almost immediately she just goes right back to, her subservient kind of tone again. But what I did find interesting, probably the most interesting part of their whole dynamic that was shown, was that one moment when he calls her in and he's basically like, I think we should go on our break, honey. And then she's like, okay, tell me when to leave. And then just like walks out the door and like walks down the hall. And then he kind of calls out to her and is like, wait, I don't actually want
no.
you to leave. Wait, hold on. But like, I thought that was actually quite interesting, and for once, like, was telling me something about who Priscilla was and like her actual thought processes here. Because then I'm thinking like, oh, okay, now this is telling us that she is aware of what he's looking for in her, which is like just defer to him no matter what, but kind of like playing with that, and like she already knows that even if she says, okay, yeah, let's go on a break, she already knows that he's going to not want that actually. Which that was like finally these moments, like I guess I wanted more of those moments where we're getting a little more insight into like what's she thinking here, you know, like who is she and what is she thinking in this pretty fucked up relationship, you know. That was like my favorite part actually.
Yeah, I think that she. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think that in that moment, for sure, she knew like what he would do if she actually left. You know what I mean? And that he wouldn't. But
But it was interesting, I guess, because previously in a similar situation, she was like, "No, what do you mean? Like, you know, can't we just figure this out?" Or like, you know, she pushes back
Right.
on him when he
like
pushes her
she
away.
she actually gets scared of getting kicked out.
Exactly. But in that moment, like, she was no longer scared. She was just like, and this is also when she's pregnant too. Like, I don't know if you remember, but she like puts her hand on her pregnant body and is just like, whatever you say, sure, tell me when to go. But it's just like, that was cool. I thought that was like a really interesting dynamic of her kind of like stepping up in a weird way, like playing him a little bit, you know?
One thing I wondered though was when she finally left at the end,
Mm-hmm.
like where was Lisa Marie at that point? Her daughter.
Well, I presume that she kind of was like full custody on that, right? I don't really actually know how that played out.
Was she in Los Angeles? Were they living in Los Angeles? And then
Well, she was.
uh
Remember, because she's like, I'm gonna go.
to LA for a while with Lisa Marie.
Yeah,
But then she like obviously went back to Tennessee.
yeah,
And then that's where she finally broke up with Elvis. Is that what happened?
yeah. I
She went
mean,
there by herself. Like I just wanted to know what happened to the daughter.
I guess we don't know what happened with her in that specific moment, if she like went to Tennessee or not. But I think she. I mean, I doubt that Elvis was taking care of that kid. I mean, he wasn't even taking care of her in the time that we were seeing
Oh,
them as parents. You know?
you know what else I thought too? That might have been a speculation or something that they might have hinted at, but they couldn't put in the movie because they probably didn't like have actual, proof or anything like that. Or maybe there would have been way too much controversy around it. But like that moment where Elvis kind of like throws himself on top of her and it almost feels like he's gonna rape her,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, "No, no, no," and then he just kind of storms out. I wonder if they were basically telling us to like read between the lines of that. Because like what are the odds of him actually just respecting her demand just of saying no? You know what I mean? Considering he hadn't really respected her on any other basis, like any other time. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean,
It's like
it
would he have
wouldn't
really just
surprise me.
stopped?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I guess we don't explicitly see anything, of course.
No,
Which
no,
kind
they're
of.
not gonna like put in an actual rape scene, but then they're certainly implying it in that moment, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. And I don't know. I didn't read the memoir, but I wonder if there's anything in that memoir that might have insinuated such tale.
Yeah. I want to read this comment from Nicole because actually I had a thought on this as well. Nicole said, I thought they just skipped past the sex scenes, in my opinion, with Priscilla to show this romantic dream vibe. That was how I processed it.
Oh
I
no. Well,
I
but they
felt a little.
specifically weren't having sex though
Well, but of course
for
eventually
a
they do
while.
because she has
No,
a baby.
right. No, eventually they do, but it wasn't until obviously after they get married. And I thought that that was interesting that they didn't show any of the sex scenes after they got married. But like by the time they
Or
got
even when they
married,
got married. Like, we never see a sex scene.
no, no, I know, but like I would also like consider the fact that by the time they got married, their relationship was pretty rocky, right? Like they
Yeah.
weren't in a romantic dream vibe at that point. It was kind of just like, let's get married, even though I'm a fucking asshole to you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and did you
And
notice that like he doesn't even ask her to get married? He just like takes out the ring. He's like, "Close your eyes, baby," and then he like takes out the ring and just says, we're getting married," and he puts the ring on her finger. I thought that was a
oh,
pretty telling kind of thing. Like he's not even like, "Will you marry me?" He's just like, "We're getting married," and he puts the ring on
like
her
he just
finger.
has zero regard for
He's
her
like, "Yeah,"
desires or her
he's like, "I
comfort.
decided we're getting married." You know,
Right.
I mean, like he doesn't actually say that, but like you could infer that to him, he's just making the choice, and it doesn't matter what she thinks. Like they're getting married.
But it's also interesting because it's like he is labeled as the king. You know what I mean? His whole life is just a series of people bowing down to him and worshiping him and,
Hmm.
well, some people trying to manipulate him and but at
Right.
the same time it's like all he knows are like people worshiping him at his feet and giving him whatever he wants.
Hmm.
And you think about how many men in, well, people in celebrity positions or in Hollywood who receive that kind of praise and attention and like how there's just no way. It's like almost unfathomable to me that that would not corrupt a person. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I feel like in the beginning of this movie, he's not quite like at the stage that I don't know. He's obviously a superstar at that point, but there does feel like there's a real genuine love and connection between the two of them. And you really want to be a part of like there's a magic and a chemistry there that I feel like the movie at least tries to depict that seems real and that feels really palpable and like you want to be a part of that magic,
Hmm.
and that there is a real sensitivity and a genuine concern for Priscilla on the part of Elvis and like his gentlemanliness towards her and kind of his whole demeanor feels authentic. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But as his career progresses and as his fame just skyrockets to more like higher and higher levels, I mean, he ultimately just becomes completely corrupt. And obviously he's taking tons of drugs.
Hmm.
Um, they both are. Um, and obviously that's not going to be good for anybody's well-being. But
See, and I was kind of even wondering on that end too. I was hinting at this too. Like, I feel like we see her kind of toy around with it a little bit, but I'm also just thinking like, is that the truth, or was she like fucked up on drugs? You know?
oh, I think she was fucked up on drugs, big time.
But I feel like the
I
movie
don't
didn't
think she
really tell
was.
us that. Like the movie kind of
Oh,
just in the beginning, oh,
told.
I took a couple pills and I went to Vegas and like she had that like one crazy week. But then I feel like the movie started telling us that then she was like off of it and telling him to get off of it.
I don't think she told us that. I don't think the movie told us she was opposite. It seemed like she kept taking them.
Well, I don't know.
Uh,
I wasn't getting the vibe that uh she was still, because she was like, you gotta cut these way back. Remember, she's like talking to him about how he needs to stop the
Oh,
pills.
that one.
It just, that's another part to me
When
that
she's
felt a little
pregnant,
glossed
but
over, where it's like, no, that was
oh
before
yeah,
she was
yeah.
pregnant. But that just feels
Oh.
like come on,
And then
you're,
he goes, "Oh, I got doctors. So I don't need a second opinion or
yeah.
whatever."
Like I believe that he was taking tons of fucking drugs, uppers and downers to keep him awake and keep him asleep. Like this is a classic, celebrity kind of cocktail of pills. But like that felt like another part of the film that it's like, what is the truth here? Like, and it's I wouldn't blame her either, but I just feel like, is this the truth that she just kind of dabbled a little bit and then was like the one who was trying to tell him to stop? Like I there's just like I feel like there's more to Priscilla than this film
Well,
was letting on.
I thought that they showed her taking pills quite a bit, like at least up until that one
Her?
scene. Yeah, like she would just like wake up and take one
Yeah, there was a couple times, but like I
and like they would be at parties and they'd be passing, she would take one and it just
well,
seemed
but
like they
that's early in the
realized
film. That's like when they go to Vegas and then
no, also beyond the Vegas one, there was another thing where they were taking pills. But I don't know, it just seemed like they were taking them and they didn't know what the repercussions of that was going to be.
hmm.
And that was a real thing, I think, for a lot of people back then, is that pills were just kind of the thing.
Of course, well even now they're, I mean, I think they're bigger than ever right now.
I don't know. I think they were probably bigger back then, to be honest. I mean, they're big now too, but I feel like pills back then, there was not as much of a stigma around them. I think that they were like prescribed to people very easily, and that especially for housewives, taking pills was a very,
Hmm.
I think, a common thing, and that it was not something that people thought was bad, you know what I mean, or that was going to fuck them up.
Well,
Like
sure, but
smoking, you know what I mean? Like how smoking was kind of not really seen. It was like everybody smoked at people didn't realize how bad smoking was for them until they finally did. You know what I mean?
well,
And I
sure.
think pills were the same thing. And there were just so many bad things that people were putting in their bodies, especially in the 1950s and 60s, and 70s too. And well, even, they still do, but like at that time, it really feels like there were some bad chemicals people were ingesting during those times
Yeah,
without
yeah,
realizing it.
yeah,
And that
totally. Well,
having really intense effects on people's like psychiatric well-being.
I think the biggest difference between then and now was then they truly had no idea what the negative side effects were. Like I think they didn't understand it at all. But I
Yeah.
think now we understand it, but I honestly still feel like, people get prescribed stuff, like over prescribed things when other avenues could be explored but take
I
longer
agree
or
with
more
that.
effort, or
Yeah.
like especially in American society, I feel like we very often, like, if something is wrong with you, if not an extreme thing is wrong with you mentally, you still might get prescribed like pills when perhaps like therapy could do the trick. And I'm not talking like hardcore, like, if you have a real mental illness that like requires pills, then of course, then that makes more sense to me. But like, I think sometimes, you know, I think in general we're a pretty pilled up society, like psychiatrists over psychologists.
I do. I just think that even though just the fact that there is more of a stigma around pill taking now is something that is like a progress, you know what I mean? Maybe in the right direction because
Hmm.
it means that there's going to be a demographic of people that will definitely consider the bad, side effects of pill taking
But also
before
there's
just taking them.
Right, but also there's like way crazier pills now. Like I
That's
mean,
true.
I feel like the
Fentanyl.
opioid crisis
Oh yeah.
is like very much due to people taking painkillers and then getting addicted to them, because these painkillers are insane now. Like
I
they're
agree.
another level of what they were in the 50s, or
It's crazy. It is crazy, but there's a lot of like defamation coming out around opioids too, like especially with the opioid crisis, which was revealed to have been largely like the fault of whatever that large opioid distributor was doing, and then like I don't know, it was like a very big scandal
Yeah, absolutely.
in big pharma or whatever.
But that's what I mean, is
Um,
like now the issue is
but
that
that's
they're all making money off of how much people are taking.
no, but I mean, like I think that there's now a big like pullback in the opioid thing because of the fact that I don't know even know how to get into it fully. I heard it on the news and then it was like now like doctors and people who prescribe opioids are having to be they are having to be a little bit more careful about prescribing
Mhm. Well, that's good.
opioids than they were because of the scandal that came out that was like really really bad,
Right.
condemning or something. I don't know. Anyway, let's get back
Yeah,
on
anyway.
track here.
Anyway,
Um,
Priscilla, I more or less have said everything that I
yeah, I
wanted to
think
say.
no, I just thought there were a few moments of question like that I wanted to explore. Just
Hmm.
the one being at the end what happened to Lisa Marie. And I think you may bring up. Yeah, I thought you made a good point. Who is she beyond her relationship with Elvis? There must have been more. There had to be more. Would love to have known more, considering the movie is called Priscilla.
Hmm.
It's not called Priscilla, Elvis's wife. You know what I
Right.
mean?
The memoir, though, interestingly, that it's based off of is called Elvis and Me, which,
Right.
if
So that's
anything,
maybe they should have called this movie Elvis and Me
exactly, like it felt
because
more
that
like
was more
Elvis
like
and
what
Me.
that was.
Yeah. This movie felt like Elvis and Me. It didn't feel like Priscilla
I would
through and through.
I would fully agree with that. I would fully agree with that. And with that, like, okay, points off for that or whatever. But by and large, as a Sofia Coppola production or movie or whatever, I thought that it was, dreamy, fun, beautiful to look at. Excellent taste in terms of like just like the mise en scène and the props and
Hmm. And
all
the
the
music.
costumes, art design, the music. Yeah, I mean, it was well, very like well put together in terms of just the visual elements and very
Totally.
tasteful. And there is a kind of, I just really do feel like Sofia Coppola somehow captures a certain like quality of elegance in her films that I really appreciate and I really like to just immerse in.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I totally agree with everything you just said. Basically, I have the same positives. Just like an extremely well directed, very beautiful, full of, thoughtful production design, and I mean, like everything on a visual and audio scale is like great. I love it.
She takes like the best aesthetic aspects of a decade or a century or whatever,
Hmm.
not a century, but like of any decade that her movie takes place in, she pulls and extracts the best aesthetic qualities and just magnifies them
Hmm.
beautifully. You know what I mean? And I like that about her.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
very good at coming up with like color palettes,
Oh, totally. Yeah, the color
consistent color
palette
palettes.
is so good in this film.
Spot on. Yeah,
And I'm assuming
very good.
shot on film, it really had a filmic quality. If it wasn't shot on film, I'd be shocked. It felt like very just warm and yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I was in
Well,
love with
see,
the
I felt
visuals.
See, I actually felt that it was like cold in a way, but in a cool way, like in a way that pulls you in. Like that she to me, she really zeroed in on that kind of that pale powder blue like aspect of that time period that feels there's like a really intrinsic loneliness to it. I don't know how to explain it, but it really speaks to me because I feel like my parents in a weird way or like my mom or my our the generation before us, I feel like came from that. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
well, maybe not for you, but um, so I don't know. There's something about that I'm able to kind of resonate with it with that is interesting.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
definitely those shots of her in the house where she's just alone
yeah,
and it's just like this
gorgeous.
white and blue house, but she's all by herself, but everything is like pristine,
Hmm.
but of the time.
And the just blaring soft light coming in through the windows, like with those
Yeah,
white curtains.
it just captures such a mood. I
Yeah.
don't know. I really resonate with it in a way that's not necessarily the most comfortable feeling, but like it's also fun to just kind of just kind of meditate on,
Yeah.
or in. Anyway,
Cool. I
that's it.
think that's gonna wrap it up for our talk on Priscilla. And it sounds like we would both. I would still recommend the movie, even though I had some problems with it. I still think it's worth watching.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
check it
me
out.
too.
You can watch it on Max/HBO for free. So something to consider if you got that.
Oh,
Um,
can
yeah,
I make a little announcement
of
just for
course.
people? Thank you all so much for tuning in. To those of you who are here from the Chicken Coop or anybody who's here at all, we love that you're here. Um, and I just want to let you guys know that we're going to have some form of regularly occurring episodes where we do vintage classics, so movies from before the 2000s. And I think that our next episode will probably be a vintage classic episode. We won't say what it is yet, but we're gonna do maybe I don't know how often we'll do it, but we'll make it a regularly occurring episode in in our podcast show.
Yeah.
Um, so I just wanted you guys to know that we will be doing older movies. So
Yeah,
I think
totally.
that'll be fun.
Yeah, we
Um,
like to do a mix of both. That is how we traditionally have done it, but so far in these new episodes since we kind of restarted in January, we have only done modern films, but yeah, we do want to bring in some classics, so we will
I want to
definitely do
like
that.
my hope is that it will be like a regular like every other week type of thing maybe, and I'm very eager to do movies in the realms of like a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or like a Ferris Bueller's or favorite movies from the 80s and 90s. That would just be my avenue of expertise.
Yeah, and if you have a
Just
movie
fun.
if you have a movie that you would be interested that we cover, let us know too, because we'll
That's a great idea.
we'll always consider recommendations as well.
Bryce Shell says 90s top 10 faves. I love that idea. That could be one, but maybe down the line after we've reviewed a handful of 90s movies, perhaps in our vintage faves.
Yeah, we do some top 10 stuff. In the past, we've done that, so I'm totally down to do it. Like, we did a top 10 horror movies episode. Obviously, we do our recap episodes of the year, but I'm totally down to do like a top 10 episode of a decade or a different genre other than horror or something like that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I will say for our next episode, we are going to do a film that we haven't announced yet, but we will also cover the Oscars briefly in that episode as well. The Oscars are going to be happening next Sunday on the 10th. So our next episode will be on the 17th, which is 2 weeks from today, March 17th. So we will do our traditional movie review, but we will also cover the Oscars and whatever ends up occurring that night. So that's another reason to tune in if you follow the Oscars, which I honestly wish I didn't have to, but but I will. But I will. I'll do my due diligence.
That's good, Dominic. Very good.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Well,
thank you all very much.
yeah.
Have a wonderful night.
Thanks so much. Talk to you later. Bye.